All right, at Clackamas Fire, we're here, always here for you. Do I need to turn that on?
Yes.
Okay. At Clackamas Fire District, we're always here for you. We value our people and the people we serve. Our focus is on establishing teams, trust, empowerment, accountability, mindset, service. Let's see. Did you guys sign in? All one of you, Don? Okay, great. Pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Okay. All right, I'll call the meeting to order. We're ORS 192.610 to 192.705 and ORS 192.650. This meeting is being recorded. The recording of this meeting will be made available on the Clackamas Fire website. Okay. Changes to the agenda, Chief Brown.
Yeah, Jay, I'm sorry about this. Today. So B1, instead of Chief Brian Stewart delivering that, as we Chief Gambler, Brian got stuck in the Capitol testifying today for legislation. And then R1A, as part of division report outs, R1B, there will be no report for business services. Chief Peters is at home today. And then R1E for strategic services, there will be no report on. R1F, the professional fire of Clackamas County Local 1159, we have shop steward Trent Westenfeld here. And Trent will give the report out versus Vice President Andrew Gordon.
Okay.
And then R1G, Volunteer Association report, Chief Dan Mulick is just going to give that in his emergency services report.
Okay.
So we won't have an R1G.
Okay. Scratch that then.
Sorry, a lot of things there, but this.
That's fine. No, yeah, absolutely. It's been very rainy today too. Okay. Thank you for that. Approval of the minutes from last time. I understand we have a change to our minutes.
Yeah, I have a change to the minutes under, it's number 8 on page 2, and it's under B2. The reference in the original submission said that the motion passed 3-0. In fact, it passed 3-1.
Okay. And
I have, yes.
okay. So
Under 8.
yeah, I read it. So you guys all got a corrected copy?
Yep.
Okay. So we need to vote on the corrected copy.
And you need to articulate it that exactly what Aaron said.
Okay. So I got the motion to approve the change in the minutes to
As amended.
As amended. Yeah, we'll just go with as amended.
I move to accept as amended.
I'll second.
Okay, shall I call the roll?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Very good. Okay. We are down to talking about the resolution for Gladstone. Chief Mueller.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. Here in place of Chief Frank Stewart for Resolution 26-01, the City of Gladstone Annexation, page 8 of your board packet. This resolution recognizes the passage of the annexation with the City of Gladstone. They're reviewed by the legal from the City of Gladstone. They've identified the legal boundaries that you can see in the packet, as well as the certifying result of the election. If Resolution 26-01 is approved, it'll go to the Board of County Commissioners on March 13th, 2026, in which case Chief Brown and Chief Stewart will be there attending that. So the information as is within the memo that Chief Stewart presented. And we're looking for a board.
It's the same to include the debt consolidation plan. Give me a second here.
Just give me 1 second, please.
Just talking.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
The
All right.
the resolution speaks to it.
So any questions for the chief officers on the annexation plan or the resolution? All right. Do I hear a motion to approve resolution 26-01 City of Gladstone annexation into Clackamas Fire District?
So moved. I second that.
Case moved and seconded. Shelby, call the roll.
Jay,
Yes.
Marilyn,
I'm going to abstain again. This is clearly unconstitutional.
Chris,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. Liaison reports. You guys got any meetings you guys had in the last 5 weeks? We'll talk about.
We've had an alternate funding meeting. Was kind of early on, just to kind of get to meet everybody and kind of look to see what we want to try and accomplish and how we want to get started. We gave Mark and his staff a little bit of budget type homework for our next meeting, and we're working to set that up fairly soon. The other one would be interagency with Sandy. We've met with them and talked about this May election. We met with the interagency prior to them voting last week to refer it to the voters again. So we have a good relationship with them, and they're very excited to move forward with this.
Very good.
I think that's it.
Good. Marilyn, anything?
No.
On liaison reports, Thomas?
No, we have executive committee.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that now.
Okay.
So,
ahead.
I kind of wish Jim was here, but I'll update him, when I talk to him again. So we had actually a really good executive committee meeting, Thomas and Nick and Sheldon and I, and, it revolved around, kind of around data, and it revolved around the chief's report and some of this new stuff, the new way that we're getting this information, and potentially some of the questions that have come out of the last couple of board meetings about specifically this data. And so here's kind of the thing that came out of that meeting. When we appointed Chief Brown as the fire chief of the district, we asked him to do certain things for our district. We asked him to lean heavily into data. The district has done a great job of purchasing different analytic models, things to look at how we are doing our service delivery, how we are taking care of our people within our organization, and how we're doing many things. And so we tried to move away from emotion-driven decisions and drive and push our agency towards data-driven decisions, and considering human element as part of that decision-making matrix, but to swing away from that. Well, we've accomplished that, or we're well on our way of accomplishing many of those strategic tasks that we asked our chief officers to do. Well, the new way of reporting the data, specifically to us, but also to the rest of the fire district, on whatever basis that Chris and his people report this to the fire district, reflect many of those changes that we've made. So what we're seeing in this report, some of the legacy stuff that we're not seeing, i.e. mutual aid, that we asked Chief Brown 4 years ago to look at how we are giving mutual aid and how we are receiving mutual aid. That entire thing has changed. It's different now than it was 5 years ago. Back 4 or 5 years ago, we had the need as a board of directors to really take a strong oversight of that, because it was a concern of ours that we had of making sure that we're not giving away our stuff to other agencies and not getting a reciprocating amount of stuff. That has been dealt with.
100%.
So that's just one element that we talked about, that the mutual aid concept, or the compensation for mutual aid, or aid, I should say, with stuff Mark's doing with billing and all the rest of the stuff, a lot of that has been taken care of. And so the new report that being produced is reflecting that. And now, not to say that this is going to be locked in like this, but what I would encourage the board to look at is look at the data compared to the way we are actually doing business now, not the way we were doing business 5 or 6 years ago, the way we're actually doing business now. And I think after sitting down, after Thomas, I sat down with Chief Brown several days ago, explaining to us that the data is actually reflecting the way we're doing business now. Now it makes more sense, if you will. And so I did want to open that up to conversation, not only with the board, but with Chief Brown to do a little deeper dive in making sure that we are actually getting the data that is appropriate for how we are conducting business day in, day out. So Chief Brown, you want to add to that?
Nick, just one thing, but I feel instead of reacting, we want to be proactive in that. We also have some limitations, how you can change the mutually, my understanding, correct me, because we have an agreement and we have to abide by that.
Yes.
So when it becomes out of hand, then what we normally do is we meet with the respective fire district chief or whoever, and then try to work out a solution, right?
Yeah, and it actually goes a little bit deeper than that, Thomas. That if it's okay,
Yeah, sure.
I'll give just kind of an overview, and then Dan can speak to a little bit of the strategy mutual aid wise that is bigger than Clackamas Fire, bigger than Clackamas County, involves Washington County, involves Multnomah County, and really the strategic direction as the fire defense board chief and as a regional operations that he'll be able to speak better to specifically with that.
And Nick, real quick too, mutual aid is obviously something that the board has looked at really heartily for as long as I've been associated with it. But it's not the only data set that has changed. It's just probably the most obvious one that has changed. But anyway, go ahead.
I think, one of the things on last report, somehow median turnout time snuck out in there, and the intent was never median turnout time. So it's back to the numbers that it always has been. But one of the focuses that I heard 5 years ago from the board as I became fire chief, some of the leaders' intent expectations that you as elected officials laid out to me, representing your constituents, and then in turn, what I've heard over the last 5 years from community members, I believe this data set is meeting the intent as board president across stated, but also is really what I'm getting back from the community. As we have historically in the fire service, we've tried to quantify our existence based on run volume. Justifying to the community, we need to go out for a money measure because we had this many extra response and calls, versus really looking in and what product we're producing, how many lives are we saving, how much property are we protecting, and really focusing in on that number versus an arbitrary a run volume number. I do think it's important that the community understands how many apparatus are responding, because I don't think the community, if you see a call that has one call, I might have 4 apparatus responding to. And so you'll see on their apparatus responses, that's a true data set. That is how many times Trent from Engine 3 and maybe Rescue 3 have responded to a call that have taken multiple apparatus to mitigate that call. But really trying to focus our energy back into why we're here. We're here to save lives. We're here to protect property. That's what you have charged me as your fire chief to be able to focus on. And I believe that data set is something that you want to see. Are the data analytics that we're using, are the strategically placing apparatus, the types of apparatus we have, are we seeing a trend in increasing the amount of lives saved? That matters. Are we cutting back on time, on that time pendulum that we're trying to, so that we can save more lives? Saving property. That is a very conservative analytic number, and you'll see on your report for this report, we've transitioned over to NERIS, and The nurse reporting system, which is the new federally mandated program, is not caught up to those analytics. So this report this month, you will not see how much property that we saved, but next year we're doing a workaround to get that data set until NARIS catches up, like the old NIFRS reporting system did. That's pre-plumbed into Dark Horse. So you just got to bear with us here. We're going to have to come up with another system and NARIS catches up into our ESO reporting system.
Chief Brown, explain back to property saved versus property lost. Explain exactly what those numbers are.
Okay, so it's important for us to not overinflate. And as for me, I'm very conservative in these numbers. So basically what that is we arrive on scene, we know quantifiably that study after study after study scientifically, if there are buildings 10 feet within a building that's on fire, we know that it will auto expose if the fire department doesn't show up. I'm not counting that. I'm not counting that because I don't want our numbers to have a perception of being overinflated. So what I am counting and what we are counting as a data set is the actual building that's involved. We are counting the assessed valuation, not the real market. So we are counting the assessed valuation, the property amount that was saved versus the property amount that was lost. And that's the dollar figure you get. There's not contents inside. We don't count those because that's a number that could be argued. I think that this gives us a very conservative approach as we start introducing the community to the dollar saved. We could start moving towards including the exposure units. There are agencies across the United States that utilize that. I'm sitting in front of you as the elected official, sitting in front of a community member. I can undoubtedly say that those numbers are at a minimum what we are saving. So that's the numbers that we are.
So, are you concerned at all with if we use the data to explain life or property saved like that? Is it going to be significantly different than our neighbors and from the north and to the west of how they do their analytics?
Nobody else is utilizing this right now. They still use the run volume. Everybody's watching what we're doing here with this analytics. This is running in Stockton. Stockton, California has started doing this. The property saved, we noticed. We started this about 18 months ago, and we just noticed that Stockton has just started that in their annual report this month or this last year. So we know where I got this concept from. It's Phoenix Fire Department. Phoenix Fire started to do this, and then there's some agencies within California that have done it as well. So and it's just as we are making a decision versus saying that we're going to take increasing call volume to justify our existence, they're likely calls that we probably shouldn't even be on. And it's not the best, being the best stewards with the taxpayer dollars. What we are saying is no, this is what your dollar is invested in the community, and this is what you're getting back by having the fire department and being able to quantify that. And the only way to truly quantify that is by property saved and the amount of lives that are saved based on life-saving interventions that we perform as paramedics and EMT basics. And it helps us to see where we are benchmark wise, where we're improving, and where areas that we need to make improvements. It's utilizing the data sets that you've asked me to do to see how that can shape and guide our operations in the future. I think I made sense what I just said. I confused myself.
Another thing that we talked about at our meeting was producing some sort of annual report this is a month in, month out snapshot, if you will, but seeing something on an annual basis, either a calendar basis or fiscal year basis or whatever, so that we get that. And Shelby showed us what they send internally to the rest of the staff. Actually gave us a copy of that as well. But so to ensure that at least every 12 months or whatever period of time that staff is getting that report, that we get that same report so we can reflect back on the compilation of the last 12 months as well. Shelby, did you want to say anything about that report at all?
It's a here. So in January, you would receive a synopsis.
Thomas,
Which has a further breakdown.
Yeah,
exactly.
My additional comment to that is this come to play the transparency and accountability.
Yes.
As we are getting more and more involved in the community, civic organizations or other, they're going to be questioning what the numbers we put out.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure, A, we are transparent. B, it is accountability, we have to be, if needed, they question us, we'll have to prove it.
The other part to add to that, Thomas, is it's easily understandable, just the way Chief Brown
Yes.
explained it was easily to understand that too. So I think that's important.
And it's a starting point. I know that I could justify the bigger number, but I think Maryland would punch me if I did that. I feel like this is a very conservative approach that it easily to defend, like you said. Can I a couple of topics to build on before we open it up to you, and one will be the mutual aid, and I'll turn that over to Dan. But something I want to highlight and why this matters is the concurrent calls, and where this really started to come to fruition for us was really the beta test that we did in Sandy with the new rescue 7-1 that's staffed 12 hours a day. And we started looking at through Dark, we started looking at the analytics, and what we know there is that 1 in 5 calls are concurrent calls. There's 2 or more calls happen, out of every 5 calls. So 20% of the time in Sandy. And so you start looking at that time pendulum and whether or not getting time back in our favor, if adding another apparatus there makes a difference. So if you look at throughout the fire district, that's just something that I think is a good, interesting piece of data set for you guys to see, is how many concurrent calls go on within the fire district. So if you look, 736 responses last month were just solo calls. 906 were double hits. So that means 2 calls going on simultaneously. 615 were 3 calls at the same time. 317 were 4 calls, and 206 calls for service were 5+ calls within the organization. So it's just another way to, as a community member, you might say, well, why don't we just put one fire engine that is staffed out of the middle of the fire district, and whatever happens, well, this is why. And so it's just a way to articulate and to show our community really what we're utilizing to make our decisions. And I'm believing I'm capturing what you're saying. Mutual aid. Now, this is something that I think I'll give a small piece on and then turn it over to Dan. Mutual aid was a big topic of conversation when I became fire chief. Since that time, Sandy Fire District is now Clackamas Fire. Gladstone Fire is now Clackamas Fire. Canby Fire, we have not only contract for service for fleet, we have a contract for service for command and control. And so those numbers are now overinflated because we have a battalion chief responding to chief level calls that aren't mutual aid, they're actually paying us for that service. So we have accomplished, for the most part, everything that was of concern to the elected officials, and we are constantly watching those numbers. We have great interaction with our neighboring chiefs. We're constantly asking us, hey, how's it going? We have really good relationships, and we've made some proactive changes from where we were at 5 to 10 years ago. And Dan would go more on that regionally to speak to.
Yeah,
Mutually.
just to kind of start with, the landscape has changed. Obviously, the landscape has changed. When I got in the position 5 years ago, I know it seemed like quite often we were talking about the chart and the imbalance in mutual aid, and we did put a lot of effort with those agencies that imbalance was there. There was one specifically that we went in and addressed, and I think that we right-sized that pretty quickly. The one thing that's interesting, if you look at that, obviously we are in the county, we're the largest agency in the county, and because we're the largest agency, we're in the center, we have mutual aid partners that are lined up all around us. And the big line down plots up from all the way down from City of Portland or Portland Fire and Rescue, all the way down to City of Gresham, and then ending at Corbett, which we mutual aid with the contract with Sandy. You look at where the high density populations are, where the high numbers of calls are, and some of the most impactful calls are right around that line. So right sizing with some of our smaller districts, and then just actually go and do the operations with those agencies from the regional approach, knowing that their fire stations, some of the fire stations are closer to the border than our fire stations are. And when we go to closest force component, We have an agreement with Tualatin Valley in Portland and newly kind of tied into this conversation in the city of Gresham, that we want to have the closest battalion chief arrive first and take command, and we want to have the first closest unit arrive on incident if they can have a positive outcome, right? Whether it's mutual aid or not. The relationship is built to the point that, and kind of what you're not seeing here is that there's a lot of recalls on these with medicals and things like that. But the calls that count, where we make an impact, that mutual aid agreement, that discussion is that we want shared resources. And I don't think we've ever been in this agency to the point where the ops chiefs are saying, I want the Portland battalion chief, if they arrive first, I want them to take command, run the incident, and not be thinking, hey, let's recall. This is a team approach. And that team approach is happening right here, and the team approach is happening at the state level too. We did send task forces last year to Washington County at Hag Lake. We did send a county mutual aid task force to Rowena Fire before it was called the Rowena Fire, and that burned over 50 structures last year. Like, our mutual aid agreement is not just intra-county, it's all over. And the region is trying to improve on that. So what we get from it, if we get a mutual aid, like, hey, we need to go help with the cardiac chest pain in Molalla, and in return, we get their type 6 brush rig 6 months later on a running grass fire in Clark's Fire District. I think what we're giving on the give and take is very, very good. The other part of it too that I'm doing, and it doesn't show on data, is just the conversations with those agencies. We do turn down a lot of requests for auto aid, especially with the ladder trucks. There's agencies that want to have our ladder trucks tied to their incidents, and we've said no. We've said it on multiple occasions, but we're on the same page talking mutual aid. Hey, how's the relationship? How are things going? And how's the balance feel with your administration? And that has been mutually satisfying within the county and across county lines in Multnomah County specifically. Some agencies, because of travel time, we have said we're just not going to do it. We just can't do it. However, was it last 2 years ago now, Timberland Lodge?
Yeah.
Has zero fire protection. The Hoodland Fire District doesn't even protect that area. And we sent resources, even truck 25 from Portland went, and our agency sent them a bill for what the state mode plan rates as an hourly rate for firefighters and for equipment, and they paid it. And so I feel like right now the give and take is satisfying the region when we're talking preparing for the big one, preparing for fast moving fires, escalating incidents. That's what I'm worried about. Like, from the operations side, I'm not really worried about engine 313 going into Molalla to help out on their third hit when they're pretty darn close and they can pop back real quick. Kind of back to the data component and the values at risk. I'm really trying to set our operation up, and the region is trying to set the operation up for being able to handle that in mass force. That's what I'm focused on with the mutual aid and the auto aid agreements, is that component right there. So, yeah, 2020 was a good foundational kind of like, hey, we need to realign what we're doing. And so that's what we've done. So the one for one, like for like, that's still a conversation, but it's bigger than that for the more critical, severe calls is kind of what we're focusing on. So, and then there's some benefits out of it as well. Like, our water rescue consortium is a mutual aid, it's literally a mutual aid agreement with Lake Oswego, Tualatin Valley Sheriff's Office, Clackamas Fire. And it also ties into a contract I do with the State Marine Board. Like, that's built off of mutual aid. And we look at the benefit, the majority of the water rescues in the county are right in Gladstone and on the Clackamas River. And we get mutual aid from Lake Oswego and Tualatin Valley on every single one of those calls that come our direction. So that there specifically is built off of mutual aid. And then there's times where we go out and we provide resources that nobody else has outside of our county. And there's an extreme benefit if we can afford to give the resources to go there, get that training, that level of experience on those types of significant calls. I think we had a 7-hour technical rescue last year up by Silent Rock on Highway 26 going over Mount Hood. We frequent the couple times a year the Molalla River corridor with some technical rescues. we get to bring that back to our agency as well. So it's not all for, it's more than the like for like, one for one. I'm kind of looking at the bigger picture from that. So hopefully you guys are kind of tracking where I'm going.
And I think to build on that, it's our relationship with the pararescue out of the port or the National Guard. I don't know how much we're going to be able to pay them back for that, but it's a partnership and a relationship that we call for a helicopter, we call for the PJs, which are special forces in the Air Force, to join us for providing service to the whole entire county. We're looking at this on a broader scale than where our mindset was in 2015 up till 2020. And I believe, unless Marilyn's looking at me, I'm not sure, but I believe I've hit the intent for what you requested for us. It went from your request to me and Dan, and we have our belief fixed the concerns that were there, and now we're building on a better regional approach. So we'd be happy to answer any questions regarding the data set you have or any questions you have regarding this.
Well, it's a lovely layout, looks great, easy to see. It's not so easy to understand.
Okay.
And I think that maybe somewhere in the documentation, there should be an explanation. What is the turnout time? If this is to be for transparency purposes, for somebody picks it up and says, well, what is this? And like, I had no idea what a concurrent call was. And it doesn't say here what a concurrent call is.
Yes.
And specialty rescues, if we want our constituents to be informed of this and not just have a bunch of nice numbers on a pretty blue and green background,
Yep.
there has to be a component in which they can understand it.
Do you know who said that also?
Why don't you turn your mic on for this?
Shelby Hopkins, HOPKINS, said those exact same words.
Sorry, so the people understand, well, what is a heat map? I still
Yep.
don't know what a heat map is, and I just listened to you. So it's just, yeah, the information I'm sure here is just, I don't have the knowledge to understand what we are setting out. You all do, because you're a professional, you go, oh yeah, I know a concurrent call.
Yep. And one of the things, Marilyn, and I think you're on point, and Thomas, actually at the executive meeting, we talked about it, was it gives us the opportunity for the public get engaged. But on the flip side, I think, hearing it from you and hearing from Shelbs, I think there's a blending of the two that we can do to make it, and we'll strategize that. Shelbs has some good ideas, and we'll figure that out.
We actually just,
The key somewhere else, doesn't have to be here every month or say,
But
but no, go see our webpage or something.
the concurrent call, there was a discussion of calling it simultaneous calls too, and we're like, tomato, it is what it is. And so simultaneous, concurrent, the different words. So I left it alone, expecting somebody to comment on it and we could make changes.
I said, you know what it is, I mean, that's fine, I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I love that.
It wouldn't know if it said simultaneous either, so. Doesn't make any difference, 6-1, half dozen,
Okay. All right.
yeah.
I'm never gonna hear the end of it from Shelby, just so you know.
So what is a heat map?
The heat map is in, Shelby, correct me, it's basically the bigger the circle, the more abundance of calls that there are there. So the heat map is where it's supposed to identify where the majority of the calls are throughout the district.
The reason they call it a heat map is because normally what happens is you start with green, it goes to yellow, it goes to green, and it goes to red or something like that. And the red areas are the highest amount of incidents, and so that's where the heat is. And so that's where the heat map comes from. But we chose green and gray and blue.
And
so
circles. And the circles. It's the dark.
So
We have to be different.
We have to be different. It's
You do whatever you want,
Same-
just gotta.
same concept. Anyway, Chris, you got anything that you question?
I really like the data. I think, a few explanations of the different stuff. But I like seeing the numbers. I like seeing that we're tracking this stuff because it matters. I mean, the concurrent calls, being able to tell people of Sandy that we've been stationed 74, 26 nights a month on average. Knowing the real facts gets us a leg up.
Well, the other thing we talked about is my personal dislike for percentages.
Yeah.
Because you can make percentages do anything you want to with it, but it's really hard to do that with hard numbers. And hard numbers like loss versus value.
Yep.
That those are hard numbers that you can have a conversation around. But anyway, Thomas, anything else you want to say?
No.
Okay.
I would love one small thing if it's okay. So I would love us to analyze this for a couple of years, circle back about 2 years from now to really talk about whether or not we stay with. I'm really conservative with that property. Saves, but we can talk about expanding that slightly if we want to. But I would love to run it this way for the next couple of years.
I think too, I mean, that's great, but I think too, as we get feedback, maybe through our website or something like that, or social media campaign, as we get feedback through that, we may, whatever, if we have questions to answer, and we may need to change the data set depending on input we get from the community too.
Sure.
But Chris Edmonds will have a better pulse on that, I think, than anybody, so. Anyway. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, if we're done with liaison reports, then let's see, were there any other board information reports anybody have?
I can.
Go for it.
Marilyn, my brain is like a fluorescent tube. You flip the switch, it doesn't come on easily. It takes a while. So I was wondering, what do you mean by unconstitutionality of Gladstone Fire merging into Clackamas?
It's not the merger that is unconstitutional, Thomas, as we talked about a number of times. What Constitution, which we all swore to uphold, Oregon says in Article 1 and Article 9, is that you cannot treat your taxpayers differently. And the proposal and what this says is supposed to say is that we're not going to charge them supposedly for the levy. And you can't do that. It's unconstitutional. And yet the whole thing, both with Sandy and Gladstone, is predicated on them not having to pay taxes that everybody else has to pay. That's what's unconstitutional.
No, they already
It says every taxpayer pays.
Yeah, now I understood. Nick, can we just dwell on a little bit on that? They are paying a levy that we are not paying, right?
No, Thomas, they are paying their current rate.
It's 30 cents.
Yeah, their levy was 70. I'm not going to throw numbers that I don't have in front of me right now. It doesn't, but what Gladstone, their levy and their millage rate was less than what our millage rate is of 240 per thousand.
Yeah.
So the annexation vote was for the 240 per thousand, and then coming in the May 27 renewal of the levy, they would be able to vote for and then have whatever the results of that levy vote be, they would then get charged the levy. And that was understanding Marilyn's perspective, and she's a lawyer by trade, and I love it, and I love her mindset. We have a conflicting opinion here between Marilyn and 3 other legal opinions that we receive. And so with that,
I would dispute that. That is not what Miller and Nash said. Miller and Nash agreed with me. And what they said was, if the board had a meeting in which we determined whether there was a rational basis for allowing this, then maybe it could pass constitutional muster, but we never did that.
we did. We talked about whether or not the board 4 out of the 4 voted to do this 240 per thousand. You voted against it, Marilyn, understandably. But there was the conversation of whether or not to do the 240 per thousand and then have them vote. And then there will be another opportunity, because based on the debt consolidation plan and the annexation, that process comes forward in the budget process as well, because that's where you have to officially as well again guide Mark what to do. So there has been multiple votes and multiple opportunities to have this discussion. When we went to the taxpayer, the vote was 4-1 with the board, and again when we pass the budget will be another opportunity to have that conversation with the citizen elected
budget committee members as well as.
Well, let me be clear, there's a difference between a debt obligation agreement, which we can do. I was still opposed to that because I don't see why they should get out from paying that. But that is legal. The difference is you can't, the levy is not a debt obligation. The levy is a tax. And as a tax, the Constitution says everybody pays it. And, you know, we can have all discussions, we can vote, everybody can vote, say, oh,
Totally.
it doesn't
But
change.
don't they have to vote for a levy to be paying?
So Thomas, if you moved into
Pardon me?
Clackamas One, say you were an outsider and you moved into Clackamas One,
Yeah.
so you didn't vote on levy, would you expect to not have to pay it?
If I didn't vote for the levy, how would I pay?
So, okay, you're a taxpayer, you move into our district, and we already have the levy, which you didn't vote on. Would you say that you should get a tax bill in which you say, oh, I don't have to pay this levy because I didn't vote for it?
But we already, and they have a levy themselves, don't they? Or is it already
That's
out?
not
Is it done?
Their levy will be, Gladstone's levy will be terminated. Yes.
Okay, so once again, they did not vote. The levy is an additional tax to the millage rate. They are paying the millage rate. Every other citizen in the community.
all of our people are paying.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And now they want to be one of our people, right? We're annexing it, so there's no fungible difference between us and them.
Yeah, if
They
you go,
don't want to pay.
right, yeah, if you go philosophical and all that,
Well, it's not
yeah, it
philosophical,
makes
it's
sense. So,
constitutional.
yeah, I understand. Now I understand
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Marilyn. Appreciate you guys for the conversation.
Okay. So back to your informational updates. It's any more board informational updates on that?
Yep. Good.
Okay, cool. All right, division reports then, Chief Brown.
Great, thank you so much. We have talked an awful lot already about the data set, and so mine's gonna be fairly short and sweet. I just want to highlight a couple of items. Number one, in a conversation that I had with Tom today about how much is Clackamas Fire into the community. We're gonna be able to create, in addition to some of that, the data we already have, and probably the annual report, we're gonna have a really good, robust data set to be able to quantify what our community services division, what the IPA team is doing. We're gonna be able to give you numbers that you'll see at the end of the year. But just to give you an idea, like we know over the last 2 months, we've had 1,250 interactions with the community. And of those 16 of those people, but 16 groups, civic groups within the Clackamas Fire District that staff are regularly attending, giving presentations, and then on top of that, 32 schools and senior groups that we've presented to just over the last couple months. And so that just speaks to what community services is doing, not what I'm engaged in, not what Chris is engaged in, not what Brian engaged in, not what Dan's engaged in. So we're going to be able to wrap around and give you a little bit of a deeper data set, diving into, but annually, much like the mutual aid, of where we are engaging in the business groups within the community, the civic groups, the neighborhood associations, and the amount of people that we're teaching hands-only CPR to, things like that, because I think it matters. It matters that we go into a school and are teaching people hands-only CPR. That helps in our lives saved. So we often talk about our community response. There's other avenues at which we are talking about prevention and setting up the best outcomes for our community. So
It's also making the community aware
yes.
of what we are doing. It's not, Chris, how are we making the community aware of all the things that Nick was talking about?
Generally speaking, in terms of the events that we go to and attend, we send our PIO as much as possible to cover those events. Now, given that we only have one PIO on duty at a time, we share those things out on our social media. Sometimes if it's a large enough event, we'll share it that day as its own individual post. But more often than not, these types of interactions go into a end of the month post that we will share on Facebook and on Instagram. It's usually one of our most viewed posts. Folks cycle through and it'll include, these were the 10 to 15 events or things that happened that didn't make the cut for an individual post during that month. So that's one way that we get it out there. The other way is we're just there. We are physically there, we're present, and people see us present. This is my shameless plug that in 2 days we will be participating in Sliders and Sirens with the city of Happy Valley from noon to 2 p.m. And so if you want to see Chief Brown, be there. But again,
Maryland,
that event will,
I lost last year. I'm going to win this time.
we're going to have our PIO there covering the event as if she were a reporter, so that we can share that event with more than just the people who attend it. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir, you did. I'm just making a note to myself.
Well, we see that too when our volunteers show up, whether it's Sandy Pioneer Days or
Exactly. Gold days.
yeah, dull days or any of those kind of things. And volunteers do such a great job of being present too.
And the other thing, like with our crews, right? They don't just respond to calls. Our crews are hitting neighborhood association meetings as well. And so it's capturing all the things that our people, the great things our people are doing, that all funnels back to saving lives and saving property. That's really what our existence is. So, and last but not least, we have been meeting with our partners in the East County and have done some preliminary training on active shooter and hostile event training. And we have a full-scale exercise coming up in the next couple of months regarding that. And then Trent, are you talking at all about the blood drive with 1159 in your report? Would you? Okay, so I'll hold off on that. Turn some time over to Chris or anything you'd like to deliver before we have a report.
Sure, thanks, Nick. So turning the page to page 23 of your packet with our social media report. The big highlights for the month, the top performing post in January, we had a truck carrying about 2,000 gallons of diesel fuel that tipped over in Boring. We had a ton of engagement with that from the community. Obviously, it was an active situation and folks wanted to follow along. So we had that, and then a fire in Oregon City and a fire in Gladstone. These incidents were also where we got some of the most highlighted comments that you'll see over there. It is late enough in the month that I did want to bring your attention to something published in February. Last week in the Sandy Post, a letter ran from the board of directors for the Sandy Fire District. A very detailed, thorough letter outlining their rationale and reasons for why Clackamas Fire and why now and why they're going out for the vote again. If the board hasn't seen that, I can circulate that around so that you all can read it. And then the final thing, just to be brief here, is I did want to point out that we had 3 different units who were recognized by Gresham Fire on February 4th for their work on the Purcell tire fire that took place on August 22nd. And so that was a really good honor. Division Chief Olson attended and accepted the award on behalf of Clackamas Fire.
Love that. Thank you, Chris. Last and not least, because I know we've been talking a lot, but I do think this is important to point out that even if you're off duty, you're never really off duty as a firefighter. And on that Gladstone fire, Brian Stewart was driving with his wife to go get bagels for their family. It was just 7:30 in the morning, wasn't it about? And his phone vibrates. And he looks at it and he sees residential fire in Gladstone. And he sticks his head up and there's a column of smoke right in front of him. And so he pulls over and proceeds to get up to the front. And his initial thought process was, I'm going to make sure that the area is clear, get it open for the first engine to show up. And as he's walking in, people are screaming, there's somebody trapped inside, there's somebody trapped inside, there's somebody trapped inside. And so Brian forced entry into that front door. He got low and he went into search and he got to where there's a couch, and the kitchen was all involved. And this is again, he's not wearing any turnouts. He's not wearing a helmet. He's not wearing his breathing apparatus, but he's going in there trying to hold his breath and trying to perform a search. He ended up getting burned on his hand. And the condition started deteriorating. He had to back out. The search was negative for the area he could get, and he backed out just as engine, was it 22 or 3 that arrived first? The 22s arrived first, and the first in nozzle deploying the hose sees Brian and says, "Get away from here," thinking he's just a member of the public, right? And Brian's trying to shovel in hose for him. He's not recognizing who. And he's like, "Oh, that's Brian." Right? But my point is that even off duty, every single person from the very top of the organization to the very bottom of the organization buys into this mission and the purpose of why we are here, whether we're on duty or off. And from hearing Brian, and you see if you play the video, you can see Brian actually deploying the second line and straightening it out for engine 3 or rescue 3, which was going to be the second in company. But Ryan's words exactly were, granted, he just left his wife who's sitting there watching her husband go into a building, and completely. And when I talked to Brian, his reaction was, "Nick, I can't tell you how impressed I was with engine 322 and engine 3 and Mike 3, rescue 3, and the professionalism and how quickly they went in and put that fire out." Not talking about what he did, but focusing on what our crews do. So it's for me as the fire chief, it's pretty freaking awesome to be part of this organization and the things that our people do every single day, from the firefighter on the streets to these people, the team that comes and talks to you. So sorry, I went off on a tangent there, but I think it's important. Oh, did he? So he did too. Well, that's great to know that too. So with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions you have for us. Great.
Awesome. Well, golly. So let's get down to the agenda here where I crossed off. Yeah, I wanted to make sure they didn't cross him off. So no, I didn't cross him off. So all right. Got a tough act follow there. Yeah, go for it.
Tim?
Yeah, the tough act is going to be doing just a few minutes less than what you did. Okay, so as stated with R1G, the Volunteer Association report, I'll give just a quick synopsis that Ryan Kruger put forward for us for last month. So Station 74, 25 out of 31 nights. Station 21, staffed 9 out of 31 nights. 4 requests for rehab, 4 responses, 3 arrivals. It's a critical part of our operation. I really appreciate that. Those numbers are always spectacular. Our water tender operators continue to support the rural mobile water supply operations in the fire district. 4 requests for water tender responses. They responded 4 times, usually with multiple water tenders and 1 arrival on scene. We're just over halfway through our current volunteer academy, 2502, and graduation is slated for Wednesday, 4/29. And we have open recruitment for our next volunteer academy in fall of 2026. And then our incident the other night, just throw onto the water tender response. I want to say we had a total of 7 water tenders on incident on the Lower Highland fire. And so the response from the volunteers has been great. So very rarely we actually call for water tender mutual aid with the county's water tender north or south group page. We normally handle it all within our agency, which is pretty impressive. So, and then just a couple quick updates from emergency services. I know that talked a lot extensively about the mutual aid and the partnership, but I want to hit a couple more things. So in the board packet, there was the Sunnyside Kaiser Hospital. There was a white powder hazmat incident that occurred there. We were actually able to do an AAR that was led by CCOM Dispatch, which was actually great. CCOM, if you remember, they just recently lost their director. They have appointed a new director and some people stepping up into other positions. being brand new in those positions, they made room in their schedule to do an AR of this event, all the way from the call taking to the fireside dispatch, police side dispatch. And so we're able to do that in our fire law user meeting, our quarterly meeting that we have. And so our entire operations group was there, and we had CCSO there as well, and Dr. Kofed, who was representing, he represents CCSO as their medical director, and he also happens to work at Sunnyside Kaiser. So we were able to do a full AAR on that incident, which is becoming kind of the standard now, which has been really good. So a lot of lessons learned from the silos that we find ourselves in with either police dispatch or some of our larger facilities like Kaiser. So really good, a lot of good benefit coming out of there, and we're going to make some changes with our hazmat responses based out of that after action, and actually looking surprisingly more to a regional tiered hazardous materials like first alarm, second alarm, third alarm coming out of that. So super positive. And then just lastly, we did a workshop this last week that was based on ordering resources for major emergencies. And so we had OEM and OSFM there. Morgan West was able to put on this for us. We had the regional partners from Portland Fire, Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue, Multnomah County Emergency Management, Washington County Emergency Management, Clackamas County Emergency Management, a lot of players from our agency. Trying to think of who else was our shelves, but really good partnership on how to order more resources and that expanding alarm component. So as you can tell, there's a trend in our topics. What we're trying to do here is just make mutual aid resources and state and EMAC resources more readily available to kind of cut down that response time. So yeah, great clinic and a report. How did it do?
You know, Clackamas, we got, we're a Clackamas Fire, we're a pretty big organization, and we've got a lot of things going on, and things move quickly around here. And I was talking with a young EMD a couple of days ago that is currently in the Clackamas Volunteer Academy. And it kind of makes you reflect back. I mean, this is a young person coming from a small world, and now all of a sudden he's literally overnight dumped into this huge organization, and the eye-openingness of, Clackamas Fire, learn how to be a firefighter and all the rest of stuff, but it's so much bigger than that. Of just listening to this young person talk about, 3 days prior they were doing one thing, and now they're in this big giant world of Clackamas Fire. What a big thing is, and I wouldn't say he's overwhelmed, because I think our people do a great job, but it is kind of sets you back a little bit, thinking, wow, he's pretty impressed. So he doesn't have anything to compare it to, but he's pretty impressed.
I can see it. Yeah, and then the other thing to just because it's recent, I'm starting to add it on there, but I know the board of directors was notified that we had an incident on the Lower Highland fire the other day. I just want to give just a quick synopsis on that. We did immediately when it happened. Actually, I found out from C103 in Portland, was monitors our fire channel, and immediately heard it and immediately called her boss, and her boss immediately called me. So it was instantaneous that we found out about it after 3 hours on incident, when everybody was kind of clearing the scene and turning their radios off. But yeah, we had a scare with an incident. Luckily, everything has worked out in a positive manner so far. We did have 3 people evaluated at the hospital. 3 of our members evaluated at the hospital and were released. Nobody was admitted. We did activate our team that put support towards the hospital. We had a liaison in place. We had family support in place. We had peer support in place, and we're continuing to just evaluate the process of how we're going to do what our after action looks like and our call review and everything. So work in progress. The great thing is that we had no negative outcomes out of this, and so luckily our firefighters are safe and going to return to work here in the near future. But just want to throw that out there. I know the board is probably wanted an update on that since the fire chief notified you of that. So
All right, very good. Any other comments for Chief Mueller? Okay. Chief Whitaker, you're up.
Okay, good evening, Board of Directors. Before I get into budget and finance stuff, just a quick facilities update. So at the end of January, the remodel of the training warehouse was complete. So that is now open now. We've got the new academy in there and the new gym space, and it's really nice over there. So thankful to Chief McCullough and Denise Toyoka and all the facilities crew for the work they put in to get that up and running. Super great to have bathroom facilities for the academy. So it's good improvement for the district.
Yeah.
So what else? Oh, budget, just a budget committee update. So we will have 2 vacancies on the budget committee. So we'll put out an advertisement, hopefully this week or next, and bring you guys some new candidates for the budget committee, probably at your April board meeting, to get us set up for the budget committee meeting in May. And those are most of my updates. The finance report starts on page 17 of your packet. Not a lot is new there. Some of the same trends that I highlighted in the previous months are still ongoing. The big piece probably being, again, if you look at that general fund total revenue chart on the first page there in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see that our total revenue is roughly equal to where it was at the same time last year, which would typically be pretty alarming because you would expect our revenue to be growing, which it is. If you look at the chart to the left of that for property tax, you can see that our property tax has grown almost $2.5 million, right? So the big difference there is if with our total revenue is 1, we had over almost $3.4 million in conflagration revenue last year, whereas we only have 1 million this year, right? So that's a $2.4 million drop. Again, that's one-time revenue. It's associated with higher expenses, so losing that revenue doesn't affect our budget. We don't budget and assume that we're going to get any conflag revenue, so that doesn't hurt us. The other piece, the big loss of revenue we've also already talked about is ambulance billing, right? So we're forecasting, probably $1.5 million less in ambulance revenue this year, more in the future because we did get some partial collection. So overall, you're looking at those 2 factors decreasing our revenue by $3.5 million. And so our revenue really will be close this fiscal year to what it was last year. But it doesn't necessarily mean we're out of balance or running into issues right away here. So I think that was about the only thing I wanted to highlight on the finance report. And with that, I'll be done unless there's any questions.
Who are the 2 that are not renewing?
Julie Kennedy and William Gifford, both their terms are expiring. And I reached out to them and they both declined to renew. Yeah.
Is Julie Kennedy from Sandy?
Yes.
Boring area.
Boring area.
Yeah, she's a boring resident.
Bill's not gonna renew, huh?
Yeah, surprised it wasn't.
Yeah, me too.
So he said he'd done it for a long time.
Yes, yes.
It was time to turn it over to a new person.
Oh.
So
Well, we'll see when we actually send out the message to see if he's one of the ones that put in. Which surprised me.
Good point.
Okay, any other questions for Mark? Okay, Trent, you're up.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm glad to be here. I wanted to start off with a little bit more formal introduction to myself. I know we've interfaced a little bit at the strategic planning meeting and, future planning task force and stuff like that. But you probably don't know a whole lot about me. So I want to start off with, I've been here at Clackamas Fire for 6 years. I'm currently Lieutenant at Station 3. Prior to that, I worked at Estacada Fire for just under 5 years. I spent a little time as a shop steward there. So I do have a little bit of union experience, but this is on a whole different scale. And a lot more people to interface with. And so we're learning as we go, but it's been great. I just want to say that I live and breathe Clackamas Fire now, and I truly believe in the fire district, and I think that we're going to have some good times coming where we can really work together that benefits the district and the union as a whole. And I'm excited to be a part of that. And that's what I had to say about that. As far as union happenings, Chief Brown mentioned our blood drive that we held last month. It was a competition against the Clackamas County Police Officers Association. And we held that at their Union Hall down by Station 4. And I'm proud to say that we beat them pretty good. We donated 31 donors and they had 26. So that's a good hit. We look forward to working with them again in the future and doing something like that or even expanding it. So that was great. As far as other things that were happening, union-wise, last month we had our education conference down in Salem, which I was able to attend, which was great. A lot of things that, we're working through here there were education on that kind of stuff. So that was good for me. We currently have people down in Salem right now, advocating for us at the legislative session. I know Nate's down there and Ben Rolchek as well. And as far as things coming up, we've got our convention coming up in April, which we'll send the delegates down there to vote on 1159's behalf at the state level. It's down in Roseburg, middle of April. And that's really all I have for you now. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Very cool.
Mhm.
Okay. Last thing is public affairs. Chris Edmonds, do you have anything that you want to make comments on?
My report was subsumed within the fire chief's report.
Got
Thank you.
Got it. Okay. Well, sometimes there are additions to that kind of stuff. Okay. Awesome. Anybody else got anything else they want to talk about? All right. Good enough then. Well, looks like we're going to close this thing out. The next meeting is going to be right here, same bat place, same bat time, March 16th, 5 o'clock, right here at the training center. Public is invited to attending remotely or live in person right here at the training center. That being said, the meeting stands adjourned at whatever time it is, 6:06.
Thank you.
So,